again, everyone. Another message through Facebook. Hi, my husband and I have been watching you for some time now. It really helped us figure out what was going on. We both have pretty bad families. When we met, I went to college in Georgia and I got pregnant soon after. I went home to the terrible New Jersey and my mom said I was ruining my life and wanted me to have an abortion. I refused. Great mom. Let's kill it. I went back to Georgia and my husband and I got our own place, a camper, haha, but it was ours. His family was already starting stuff and I was basically the vessel containing my child. I was due February 20th, 2013 and was due a week late because my husband's mother said she had to be there and she was leaving for a cruise. Turned out to be a freaking weekend cruise. She and my mother were both there, and it was like a photo taking competition. Our daughter was born on February 22nd, and the day after I had her, while we were still in the hospital, my mother screamed at me about how I was being selfish and not giving her alone time with me and the baby, and how she was going to take my dog back to New Jersey. My husband told her off. For the next months, it was nonstop sending pics to my family or I didn't love them and floating around everywhere with our Stormy Belle to all my husband's family. When she was 8 months old, we got married and that was crappy, but hey, we love each other. When she was 10 months old, we found her in her crib not breathing. My husband got her breathing and because we didn't rush her to the hospital, we were horrible according to my mom. About 2 weeks before her first birthday, we wouldn't let her go over to her great grandma, so his mom canceled our registration and insurance. My mom jumped right in, and since we had nowhere else to go, we were both jobless. And the whole time we were in Georgia, and my mom and sister were telling me how I was killing my great grandma by not coming up with the baby, and it was her dying wish, blah, blah, blah. All the calls, she's not doing good and everything. While we were settling in, my sister and had just gone to Florida the day before we got there because of everything being a problem. Well, we had a nice first birthday, but a week after her birthday, I went to wake up our baby and she wouldn't wake up. On March 9th, we donated organs and she was taken off life support. My husband's father asked if we were joking when he told him and said it was our fault. His mom never talked to him. Set up a GoFundMe asking for $2,000 to come up and just came up and lied on the obituary. And his grandma came up and tried to stalk us at the police station, was banging on the funeral home doors, showed up at my dad's. My great grandma died the day my baby went into the hospital. My sister came back for the funeral. I had to throw her into a wall because she is just nuts. She moved back in. It was a nightmare. I ended up fighting her because she was putting her hands on my mom and I accidentally broke her nose. I was the bad guy. Eventually we got kicked out of mom's on short notice and ended up at my dad's. His girlfriend is horrible and an enabler and had to go with the police to get some of our stuff, but had to leave behind most of our baby stuff. It got bad at my dad's and we finally saved up enough money to leave and we went to my husband's stepmom in a different part of Georgia. About a month ago, we got our own place because she was starting to act like I was supposed to be her servant. We finally got on our own, not depending on anyone. We don't talk to his family except for his stepmom and his brother, and none of my family. Today is my little brother's birthday. I've always looked out for that kid, and my older brother just had a baby. Everyone else was easy to give up, but my little brother was hard. Well, first of all, sorry about your loss. This is another story of a lost child, which is always tragic. My mother did the same thing with Erin, where, you're not giving me enough time with her, and then we constantly catch her dressing her in different clothes and forcing things like pacifiers into her mouth that she bought so she could take pictures. And the pictures are just stock in their narcissistic bullshit, so they can pass it around. Um, the fact that all they cared about was seeing that kid for their own narcissistic supply, not because they loved her, but it's all narcissistic supply. And then when the child, unfortunately died, you're to blame. Like, who's to blame? SIDS is a bad thing. It happens. Um, it's a tragic thing to go along with, to have happen. But the fact that your mother wanted you to get an abortion and then wants to be grandmother of the year is telling. As soon as your mother told you to have an abortion, like, you should have just cut it all off. I'm sorry you lost your child, but in that loss, I think you finally saw who and what your family really is. I mean, it seems like there's some violence going on your side, that you have to get physical with your sister. And, it's not good that you had to break her nose, but sometimes things happen. They push you to the point where you have to defend yourself, because when you're not giving them the supply they want, they become violent. And it doesn't matter if you've lost a child or, oh, horrible. What a horrible, horrible story. But I'm glad you got out. And, this should be an example to everyone, no matter how bad your narcissistic abuse is. And no matter how bad things get, and losing a child is probably the worst thing that can have happen to you. It's not hopeless and it's not helpless. You can fight your way out of this. You can figure out a way to get on your feet, to get to your own place, and to establish good, strong no contact, which just seems like what's happened here. And again, thank you for your story. I'm sorry for your loss. But I think you and your husband already know that everybody in your family life and your past is garbage and shit and needs to be avoided. And unfortunately for your little brother, who, you've always looked out for, he's trapped in there. And you're not going to get custody of him. You're not going to be able to change that. You got to do what's best for you and your husband. And, when you do have another child, you want that child to have nothing to do with any of these people ever. So thank you again for your story. I really appreciate it. I I I I, uh, I hope you get some peace out of this, and and you're able to stay no contact. I really appreciate it. Um, Again, if you enjoy this channel, please consider donating to the GoFundMe link in the description box. If you want, and if you do make a contribution and you want your story read, remember, you go right to the top of the list. I'll immediately make you a video. This is Ollie Matthews. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all again very shortly.